What's going on, guys? We are bouncing off of the last video with the Reboot Cell Leader. If you haven't checked that out, go ahead and do that. It's a really cool deck list. We're looking at Super 17. This leader is from set 5. Where we're now going on to, I think, set 17. So, this leader's from set 5. He could be still meta relevant, depending on how you play the deck. Green doesn't get much love lately, but banking off the last video playstyle, we're looking at a hand control deck. You could have an aggro green list with this because it's an untapped 2 leader, but there just isn't enough going on with it that I felt comfortable building that yet. So coming fresh off of my cell list, we're looking at this guy as hand control, discarding cards from your opponent's hand, reducing it from like 9 to 4, giving you turns to just swing, and go for game. Our leader is a burst 2 on attack and draw a card. So you'll discard the top 2 cards of your deck and draw a card, and then at 4 life you can awaken and untap 2 energy. So we want to either take ourselves down to 4, or if we're playing against an aggro deck, we want to kind of control the game and let them take us to 4. And then when we hit that turn 4, get an explosive, like discard their entire hand, clear their board, that kind of stuff. So with our leader on the backside, once we awaken, he has Sparking 5, which is like, we're definitely going to have 5 cards in the drop by the time we awaken. He gains crit and draws a card on the swing. So not too fancy, 15k crit, draw a card, but that's okay. His activate main. If your opponent has 10 or more cards in their hand, they discard cards from their hand down to 9. So this in itself is already a way to control your opponent's hand size. It's not extremely relevant unless you are also keeping up with that, which is okay. That's why I was talking about the aggro version at the beginning of the video, because if you are just pushing into your opponent really hard, giving them a ton of cards, and then they're drawing cards on their turn, they're going to have more than 10 cards in hand, and then you can just activate your leader effect and go, ha, there you go, get rid of whatever you're not going to use. So it's a little convenient. I'm sure back in set 5 when this leader released, hand sizes were getting pretty big. There's a lot of drawing going on. Shenron leaders just came out, so Wish allowed people to recycle Dragon Balls to draw more cards. But anyway, looking at the deck list, we have Demigra Unison. This, if our opponent attacks into us, will allow us to awaken easier, as well as giving us a out to KO our opponent's battle cards once we get to 3 markers on it. Frieza, standard with green. This is our counterplay card. It allows us to clear the board, ignoring some opponent's bigger threats. When they overextend and cost too much energy, we can punish them with Frieza. Once Frieza hits the board, we can then pay 1 energy on our 3rd turn of the game to play out a Zamasu and then start swinging, dealing damage, clearing the board of threats, while reducing our opponent's hand size. Then we have Ribrianne, card in the drop area, which we might burst it with our leader. Tap 2, warp it, and our opponent discards 2 cards from hand. Then we have our other U2 maiden, is Rosie here. She's got Deflect, so when you play her for 3, she will come down and hit the board. Your opponent, when she gets played, has to discard 2 cards from her hand, and then Rosie gains triple attack for the turn. So this will allow us easily to remove like Unisons from blue and red. Yellow Unisons typically stay around 15k, but the hardest thing that we're going to have to struggle with in our current format is 20k Unisons. U7 is playing Sin Shenron, 20k Unison that can literally just +1 and kill the Rosie on the following turn. Then Blue is playing Majin Buu. Majin Buu is a 20k, or Grand Priest is 20k. They can just kind of just ignore it, just bean their Unison, right? So those are a little troublesome. If you encounter those, just go after the leader, I guess, or play around it. But so Rosie's pretty strong. The discard 2 from hand is the more important than the triple attack, and she also costs 3. That could also be relevant in the future. Zarbuto is a 1-drop, take a life and gains double strike on your turn. So 15k double strike to just add pressure for cheap, pretty much. It's also our Self-Awakener. So if our opponent is not attacking into us, we want to try and find Zarbutos, keep them on board, and swing as much as we can with them. That way we can awaken and get our big untapped 2-turn off. Homicidal Clones, if we get down to 5, then we can activate this on our opponent's turn when they swing, take our life down to 4, and get a free blocker out. So pretty useful. Then we have Dormant for our turn-ending combo pieces. We'll discard a card from hand. We can drop Rebriam with this, or any other card that we really don't need. But yeah, helps also KO something 2 or less. Pretty relevant because of Surprise Attack Frieza. When we KO a battle card, we can free play Frieza. This can coincide with Charismatic Villain, giving us 9 on board if we were ever going to Successor. The chance of us ever using Successor is extremely slim in this game, but the option is there. We are playing 3 green-yellow cards, a whole 3 cards. So if for some reason you think you're going to get this off, then go for it. But it's not really the optimal goal of the deck. Surprise Attack Freeze is really just a crit swing to help force our opponent to either take life or reduce their hand size even further. Super 17, like I said, if we for some reason are able to get this out, wonderful. If not, it's not the worst thing in the world. The card's relevant when it's played, and when we play it out using our effect of Relentless Absorption, it has its keyword skills negated for the turn, but on the following turn, if our opponent cannot remove it, it gets the crit and the... Yeah, really just the crit. That's all that matters. The crit. It gets the crit back, so whatever. We have 4 Infernal Villainy Cell. This is the cell that we'll be using for our Union Absorption, as well as that it's a 10k combo. So if we do keep energy open to defend, we will be drawing cards off this, as well as putting a cell in the drop area for our Union Absorption. So this is a successor off of a 3. When we play out our Rosie on turn 3, if it sticks on the board, or on turn 4, if we think it's the more optimal play, we can drop down a Rosie, make our opponent discard 2 cards. Successor into 17 for the 4th, and then I guess if this sticks on the board, or if we utilize the swing, that's great. Somehow, you have to get one of these 2 cards to stick on the board, and I keep saying that over and over. So you have Rosie as a 3, the successor into this, fantastic. The other option is this Goku down here. Limit 3 if you have 3 or more energy and a green unison in play. For 1 energy, you can play out this Goku, and then if you do, remove a marker from one of your opponent's unison cards. So that has a lot of value to it in itself, just the unison marker removal. But then you can successor off of this and do all your plays on turn 4 for 3 energy instead of 4 or 5 or whatever it takes for the Rosie engine. If you do use Rosie, you will force your opponent to discard cards. If you use Goku, you'll remove unisons easier. The Goku also has a second added value for the Spirit Boost. So we remove our markers off of our Demigra to give our Goku 5k and Double Strike. It's a good way to clear unisons off the board or go for a game. Next card we have is 17 Absorbed. So when you Union Absorb with Cell, you can then go into a Super 17 or a Hellstorm Unleashed. So if you go into Hellstorm, your opponent crits life down to 4, and then you get the draw 1 card and tap 2 of your opponent's cards on the swing effect, which is really, really strong. If you go over the 17 Cell Absorbed, then you have dual attack crit on the following turn after you've already Union Absorbed. But on the turn that you do, you still get this: when this card attacks, your opponent discards 2 cards from the hand. So if this card remains on the board for more than 1 turn, you're going to rip a total of 6 cards out of your opponent's hand in 2 turns. That's just insane value. We are playing 2 of the Super 17 Infernal Machines. Card is okay. For 4 energy, you just go for a game with it. Card can't be negated. And then when you play this card, you may choose 2 cards in your hand and discard them, and if you do, your opponent chooses 2 cards and discards them. So for 4 energy, you get a Double Striker that can't be negated. to force your opponent to combo out of the swing, as well as being able to rip 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. Our super combo for the deck is a Sparking 5. Assuming that we're going to have 5 cards in the drop area for our leader effect, we went with this one just so that we have an earlier game defensive aspect because of the aggro format that we're in right now. Our Overrealm is Bardock so that we can get a couple extra swings in, either to clear unisons or to go for game. The problem with this is that if you Overrealm, then you no longer have access to your Vegeta super combo on your swings. So can be impactful unless you're going to combo 5 cards on the attack, so you then have 5 in the drop for your super combo. Our secret rare is Pan. Pan is going to allow us to steal an opponent's battle card. If it's something that we find value in, we can just, bring it on over to our side of the board. Pan is most likely going to be a free play a good majority of the time. Later in the game, if we see the Frieza and Frieza combo, then this allows us to clear our opponent's board while stacking ours, and then putting more cards on board for Pan to be cheaper to play. And then the last card is our Majin Buu Topo Negate to just kind of stall it out. If our opponent doesn't have a counter to it, they're probably not going to swing. If they do, they're ripping 2 cards out of their own hand, which allows us even more value when we go and rip the remaining cards out for the rest of the game. So on turn 2, Majin Buu is live. This deck is a very mid-range to late-range deck. If you can manage to stall out the first couple turns, you can get more value out of it. The downside to the deck is that it doesn't have a lot of draw power to it. Since our leader is an untapped 2 energy leader, we're going to be relying on the cards that we're drawing into at the beginning of the game to kind of feed the fire. Leaving energy open for Cell gives us an extra draw, and then our super combo allows us to draw and cycle. But we want to utilize the Ribrianne out of the drop area, or just the cheap energy plays that give us maintained value where we don't have to be consistently drawing cards. You can add yellow Son Goku draw apes to this deck. It still costs 2 energy, so instead of possibly getting rid of 2 cards from your opponent's hand, you're adding 2 cards to your hand. It does give you value further down the road, but our deck is kind of like, maybe you want to go bigger on the Super 17s so that you can draw into them more easily. It's just a fun little engine that's kind of in the deck. But our main value cards in this are going to be our stall cards with this, and then just swinging, I guess. We're just going to pressure our opponent as much as possible. So if you want to give the deck a try, you can copy this list. Give it a shot. If you don't like the Super 17 engine, I put it in here because of the leader being Super 17. It's pretty cool. I haven't seen anyone actually utilize this card yet to its full capabilities. So if you have a way to do this, like a good deck for this, because I'm still trying to figure it out, let me know in the comment section and I'll take a look at it and try and build something along those lines. But thank you guys for checking out this video, and I will catch you in the next one.